Welcome to Idle Ride. I'm Marcy, your host, here with my co-host and chosen brother, Paul.
Hey, everyone.
And as promised, we're doing another bonus episode about a video game that reminds us of The Last of Us, and this time it's going to be Eastward. So I had played a video game that Paul hadn't called Eastward that has so many story and other types of parallels, even though it looks very different. And there's a lot of other different things about it, but in my opinion has the feel of The Last of Us, but cutesy, basically.
Yes.
So I wanted Paul to go ahead and play the game and give us his thoughts on that comparison. But first, before we do that, I wanted to go over the Eastward origins. So how did it get started? It was developed by Pixpill, which is an indie developer in Shanghai, China, but published here by Chucklefish. And I gotta say, anytime I see any game that's been published by Chucklefish, I'm there. I'm on board. I just love the style of games that they choose to publish. They're always really cutesy, kind of old school games that are new. So I love the style of game that they put out. And as I've said many times, I'm really bad at finishing games, but I think I've started and done at least a few hours of almost every game that they have been a part of. And for example, I've played Starbound for many, many hours. Inmost I played for a little bit, which is also kind of cute and has a similar main female, little girl character to Eastward. Starmancer, which is kind of this ship building game. You're the AI controlling, cloning people out of this ship, and you make the ship for
fun.
the people, and that's fun. Anyway, Chucklefish. So, of course, I immediately was yes, I'm going to love this game. And it the preview made me feel yeah, this could probably be a little bit like The Last of Us. And then the storyline is very similar. It's a post-apocalyptic near future. There's a deadly toxic gas that's called miasma that's taking over the world and killing everybody in it. And you play a gruff adult man who has found in the depths of the mines this little girl, and so he doesn't really know how to care for her, but he does. And Sam's kind of mysterious. You don't know. You know that she's kind of come out of this cloning kind of looking bay, but you don't know really anything about her. So that's it. That's kind of the storyline. To get us off, I do want Paul to join the conversation a little bit. So
Yes.
what was your first impression playing Eastward?
Yeah, so I guess my very first impression has to do with the name because, and I never even really watched much of the show Eastbound and Down, but in my brain, I keep thinking Eastbound.
Oh, yeah. That's funny. Nothing like Eastbound and Down.
Absolutely different. Yes, it was a very cutesy indie style. It's cute. I like it. I think that it suffers from pacing issues because a conversation can take 5 minutes if you don't hit the fast forward button. And if you do hit the fast forward button, sometimes it skips the dialogue. So I found that a little bit frustrating. I think that's more on me than on them because I could just be patient.
I have to 100% agree with you because I didn't figure out the fast forward button until this playthrough, because before, I don't know, I just didn't notice that it said you can fast forward through this by pushing E. And and I was I've already seen these scenes before. And so the fast forward button is essential. Number one, I think, because you and I don't know, do you watch YouTube videos at 1.5 times, Paul?
Sometimes, yes.
Well, if it's informational, I'd rather spend 15 minutes than 25 minutes. So for CEUs and stuff. So I always watch at 1.5 times. So when I found that button, it was thank Jesus. And so I was pushing it a lot. But I mean, there's certain parts of the story that I like watching it through without pushing fast forward. And I'm a person who has to go to each character and make sure I got every piece of dialogue. So having that fast forward is essential.
I'm amazed that you made it through the whole game without fast forwarding.
Oh, I didn't make it through the whole game. I have not finished it completely. Anyway, well, I wanted to ask you specifically, Paul, if you play this type of cutesy game very much, or if this is kind of a genre that you don't really go to very often.
I guess I definitely had a phase where I loved this type of game, and I'm going to just like throw Final Fantasy in there, like, because it's got a lot of similar elements with the mini game specifically, which I freaking loved.
Yeah, yeah.
This is kind of a different one for me. I tend to play these days solo sandbox games.
So like play around in a world, but all by yourself.
Yep. I don't like that social gaming.
So the world and gameplay I want to talk about a little bit. I love that there's so many really like quirky NPCs. Like every town, I feel like every character was lovingly kind of created to be interesting. Like you want to hear what that weird person has to say. And like
yes.
There's a little side character that kind of follows your characters around from the very beginning, kind of goes to the towns that you go. And he's like this weirdo clown person. Like, he just looks so funny and ridiculous.
And he's a freaking liar.
Yeah. And then the other thing, Paul, that I love in science fiction, benevolent robots. And so in this new future, people treat robots as if they're humans, like, because they're like alive. They don't know so much about technology that they don't know they're not people. And so it's really fun for me to see like that there's a human woman married to a robot man, and like she has all the same complaints about her robot husband that a human woman would have. Like, he's not coming home on time, he's working, he's gambling, like all this funny stuff. So I really love the benevolent robot piece.
I guess you're sort of blowing my mind. I didn't pay much attention to that, but you're right. Like, one of the first characters you talk to is a robot, and it's the smartest of the group of people that you're talking to.
Yep. And like they're
like
all
socially smart.
Yeah, exactly. And then a lot of the shopkeepers and stuff are robots. Like the bartenders are all robots who were
That's right.
made to be bartenders, but they're like really put upon by their stupid human addict alcoholics coming to their bar. So yeah, I love that aspect of this game, and it kind of bleeds into something else that I think is interesting, is that so you have John and Sam, and they start the game in this pot rocket island place that's actually underground. It's a mining location where they're safe from the miasma, which is the toxic gas that kills everybody. And so they have their own little world there underground, and they don't really believe that there's anything up above. But over time, of course, you leave this area and go up above, and then the above area has all these prophecies. I'm not sure if you've gotten to some of that, Paul, but
the main prophecy I know is that they'll make a path. Like, first person to go to the surface will make a path for everyone or something.
Yeah, so the other towns have like a prophecy of a master chef who will save everyone from the miasma. And to me, first of all, I think that's fucking hilarious. That, like, the savior of the world has to be a really good chef. And that's a part of the game that I love too. But why I'm bringing it in based on the benevolent robot piece is that they don't understand technology. And so they've made all of the technology that they don't understand kind of like godlike. So it was kind of interesting that they mix those two pieces. They don't know that these robots they treat them as if they're living beings that just need different things to keep them going, Then the technology that they don't understand is kind of like a god. So I found that interesting.
Yeah, because there's the helper robot that in the third town helps you. Like, he makes a flamethrower basically for you.
Oh, yes. The little like flying guy.
Yeah.
So that's the other thing, is there's another character, and he has like a little robot friend that's like a little boy, and there's a little love blossoming between this little robot boy and Sam, which I thought was adorable. Not sure if you got into some of that stuff.
Nope,
but
I'm not there yet. Spoilers.
So yeah, I love benevolent robots. And then They've got pretty cute monsters, cute and funny and funky. Do you have a favorite one of the monsters that you've come across so far?
Kind of the opposite. I hate how the vines spring back up after a little bit of time. Like, I don't like respawning enemies anyway. But like, they do it, I don't know, it's always the worst timing, and you get bit, and you're like, God damn it, I just beat that thing.
That's funny. Yeah, they are annoying. That's true. But I like to get me a lot of salt, so I don't care. Salt is what you pay for things with. I guess for me, there's these like mushroom characters. Of course, it's about mushroom, right?
Of course.
And it like wobbles around, and then when you get close to it, starts pooping out other little
baby mushrooms.
Baby mushrooms. So they're my favorite.
That one is fun.
Another part of the world that I thought was reminiscent of some of the older games that we used to play is that you use bombs to open up secret passageways. And the sound of the secret passage opening up is the exact sound from Zelda, pretty sure.
Yes.
It's like, do, 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 do. I can't do it. But so that's super satisfying. Like, it makes you feel like a kid again when you hear that like secret opening sound, which
yes,
I didn't realize how much that sound could make me feel young again, but I guess it does.
They also introduced the bombs really well because you had to go down and save some people from monsters, and you had to get to an ammo box to get your bombs. So, like, you don't have them to start with.
Yeah, I like how they introduced the new weapons that you get. It's a story piece instead of you just, like, finding it on a dead body.
Exactly.
I think they did a really good job of incorporating, like, everything that you have in your backpack is, like, you want to keep in your backpack because it's stuff that was from the story, right? And even the food, like, you get bits of food and you're like, it's so precious because I'm gonna make a new meal out of it.
And it'll give me 12 hearts.
Yes, I like that part too, that like he's supposed to be a master chef and he cooks these meals. That's another mini game. Just this idea that like he has to cook the food for Sam, and you have to cook food to like get your health back up and other stuff. So I don't know. I like that they incorporated that piece of it in there. But there's another parallel to Zelda where I don't know if you played the second Zelda, The Adventure of Link. Paul, did you ever play that?
To be perfectly honest, I've only played like an hour of any Zelda game ever.
What?
Yeah, it just... I never owned the right console for it at the right time, and then it just was something that I didn't feel the need to play because I've watched some playthroughs of it.
Wow, that's a deep history I didn't know about you, Paul, is that you never played the original
a little
Nintendo.
Bit of a shame.
No, I mean, if you didn't have the console, how could you, I mean, unless friends had it or something, but...
Exactly, and that's how I got my 1 or so hour of playtime, was I was learning, and then the friend was like, you're not doing it right, and took the controller from me.
Right, and those games, it was very much you had to just play them over and over again to like learn where everything was, because you had to know where to go on the maps and things like that. So it wasn't just like an easy pick up and play kind of game. But anyway, the second Zelda is not everybody's favorite, but I liked there's like multiple ways that you could see your characters, and that's kind of how it is with this, where like there's big map that you see your guys as little teeny people on this big map, and then you see them in the towns as like fully realized characters in detail, and then there's also points in the game where there's like a cartoon where you see them as a different type of person. So I don't know, I just like seeing the characters in all these different ways.
Yeah, and it's such a good callback to like Secret of Mana and Chrono Trigger as well, the different sprites for the different maps.
Oh, I like that word, sprite. I didn't know how to describe it. The other thing that I really love, and it's so dumb, but the save fridges.
They're deeply philosophical.
They really are. They're so funny. So your save points are these like fridges that have like a television at the top, and every area, every single fridge has a different thing to say to you. And I just love it. It's so funny because they're like, if you save yourself here, the person that comes back, is it really you? Like stuff like that. It's so funny.
Yeah, you don't expect shower thoughts from fridges, but there they are.
In terms of complaints, I'm a PC game person, and I feel like this would have been a lot easier with a controller. It does tell you that you should probably play it with a controller, but
yeah,
I struggle, and I always struggle with this in games, is moving fucking boxes, Paul. Like,
oh man.
And especially in this game, there's one scene where you're like running away from the miasma that's going to get you. And like part of it is that you have to move boxes out of your fucking way. And I died.
And the timing is so tight.
It's very tight. And I died like, I swear, like 25 times because I couldn't move the fucking boxes in time.
I feel ya. I hated that. I'm sure there's going to be more scenes like that. I hated playing through it because, you know, like the third time you die, you're like, okay, now I know what I'm supposed to do. And then like the seventh time you die, you're like, I know what I'm trying to do. Why isn't it working? Yes. And so when you're up to the 15th death, you're just like, can we just get through this fight?
Yeah. Can you just like, is there a way that I could just say, don't make me do this? Like... And also, I got to the point, so this is why I don't finish games, and this is why I hate puzzles, even though this isn't really a puzzle, it's just like being able to move fucking boxes, was that like I'll get so mad, and like I'm literally smashing my hands on the keyboard like afterwards. I'm like, motherfucker!
Yes.
So I did have to stop halfway through that and come back to it to release my rage and then come back and be like, you can do this. You've an adult woman who's been playing video games. Yeah, it's not that hard. When thinking about world building or gameplay, is there anything else that you kind of want to just talk about, Paul, that I missed?
Yes. I wanted to talk about, what's her name? Uva?
Uva, yes.
Yeah. I noticed that her sprite was bouncing boobs. Like, they put a lot of effort into her boobs.
You're absolutely right. I thought that. It was so funny. I mean, so one of the things that I thought about is like there's not very many diverse race humans in the game. There are a few, and Uva was one of them, and she was a love interest to John. But like you're right that she has these like enormous pixel boobs that like bounce all over, and I did feel like it was an amazing feat of coding to make that like a little teeny character in pixel form have bouncing boobs. But
yeah, it's real art to make little pixels move and be interesting.
And then later Paul went and masturbated to her pixel boobies. No,
I did think it was really weird that everyone in the town, notice I didn't deny you, everyone in the town really wanted to hook you up with her. Like, it felt weird to me.
Yeah, I mean, it was kind of the classic, oh, there's a new guy in town. Kind of felt a little bit like the Postman movie, if you watch that with Kevin Costner, where they're like, new blood, we got to get his semen in her.
Yes.
And she's like, I just want to live my life. But what's so funny is she's like, oh, John, you've got big muscles. I guess I do want to fuck you. I mean, it makes sense that it's a simple storyline, but there are some like really adult themes in this. It looks like a kid's game, but like in like the third town you get to, there's like a casino with like prostitute robots and
whoa.
Yeah, it's just like, and then like later one of your missions, spoilers ahead, is that you have to go find like costume pieces for one of the characters. And so they send you to the brothel, and basically Sam's like, oh, look, here's like a wig. Oh, here's a whip. Oh, here's a mask. And they're all like in different types of prostitute rooms, like a bondage room and like stuff like that. And Sam's like super innocent, doesn't understand it, which makes it funny, but it's just like, that's pretty adult. And
Yeah. I think it's very sad to have robots that's job is to be a prostitute in an apocalypse. Because like, who are they selling their services to once the last human's gone?
it seems like not just humans access the robot prostitute, though.
Okay.
That's what's
Okay,
funny
good.
about this world is that they are basically human with some of their programming still like involved, right? So like she was made a prostitute robot. So she believes what the head of the casino wants her to believe because that's what she was made to do, but also has somewhat of a personality of her own. So I don't know. It's an interesting conundrum to think about those things if they were real, right?
There's a whole book by Charles Stross, Jupiter's Children, I think. And yeah, the protagonist is a prostitute robot and there are no humans left. And it was a good book.
So some of the other adult themes too, like again, spoilers a little bit here, is that we learn that Sam isn't who you think she is. She isn't an innocent little girl. And
I was getting a sense of that because of the red version of her that pops up and acts all motherly in a weird way.
Yeah, so I actually don't think that that's a different person. I think that's actually her subconscious. And if you notice, and it's funny that I'm guessing because I'm supposed to be the expert on this, but I have not finished the game. So, but I think I'm right about this, is that one of her powers. So part of this can be about the fighting. So you have John, who fights with a frying pan and guns, and then Sam fights with like light powers, but her powers also stop time for whatever character she hits. Like she can hit a monster and it will stop moving because she's basically hitting it with a time bubble.
Yeah, that's a good description for it.
And so there's moments in the game where time stops and you see this alternate Sam appear who's kind of evil and doing all kinds of bad things. But I think it's just Sam doing it, but being controlled by this subconscious mother who she's supposed to be, quote unquote.
Interesting.
And we'll find out because I am going to finish this game. I promise.
That was talking about the fighting. They do a really good job of splitting you up so that you have to do Sam helps John do stuff on her path and vice versa.
Yeah.
You're basically playing two characters at the same time in a cool way.
Yeah, and we're going to, at the end, kind of go over why it's like The Last of Us, but this is a clear one where you used to have dual character kind of with Joel and Ellie in The Last of Us, where she would be doing something to help Joel and vice versa. And fucking moving boxes is one of them, too.
Goddamn boxes!
And as we've talked about, there's multiple mini games, and so to be honest, I think I played more. So they have an internal role-playing game that the kids in the game play called Earthborn. And so it is really funny because you can play it at any time. Oh, it's an emergency. But guess what? I want to play Earthborn for like 20 minutes. But it is a super good basic RPG, kind of classic, like you were saying, to Final Fantasy, where you also can, in the Eastward game, go to like this little like toy ball machine. And it's just random, and you get toy balls that have different characters from Earthborn in it. And those characters that you get influence like what potions and stuff you have in Earthborn.
That's how I got all those potions. Okay.
Yeah, so each one of those little figurines gives you like the one that's the slime gives you more health potions and that kind of thing. So I just was like, gotta get more of these balls so I can get more potions so I can beat Earthborn again. And like I think I play like more of Earthborn than I do the actual game.
Yeah, I honestly abandoned the full game until I beat Earthborn.
I do think you're right that at the very beginning, if you haven't played the game Eastward before, it allows you to beat it faster.
And it's still got a lot of replay value because I think you get a bad ending. Like you beat the bad guy, but also the world goes into darkness or whatever, and you start over, and now you know the secret of the woman that was with your group.
Right. I don't think I've ever beaten it because I always have to beat the castle bad guys first. Like, that's my goal. Have you ever beat the castle bad guys?
One of them, and I ran out of time because it's like 7 days until the end of the world.
Yeah. So my goal has been to beat every one of the bad guys in the castle, because then your background characters get like special abilities and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And then kill the bad guy. And so I don't even try to go to the main castle to beat the guy because I'm like, I'm getting every one of my special characters' powers.
I was sort of running out the clock the first time I beat it. I've only beaten it once. The time I beat it, I just wanted to see what happens. So I've never gone to the middle castle or whatever it is. It just teleported me into the final boss fight, and I was like, oh, that's how that happens. Also, I love the action economy of the merchant. He's like my favorite of the characters.
Oh. I never play the merchant or the monkey.
That's awesome. The monkey, I like him being in the background doing stuff, but not in the main lineup.
Yeah, so if you have to actually use him as a real character, you can't really do anything, so.
Yeah, it just says he doesn't understand you, even though he does.
The fucking little bitch. And again, we're talking about the mini game, not actually Eastward.
Right.
And then cooking is kind of a mini game. So, like, you get all the different ingredients, and you don't have all of the ingredients at the beginning of the game, and you find more new things that you can cook with. And then there's like a slot machine ticker thing that goes, and if you get like a good result on your slot machine, your cooking stuff does way better for you. So it gives you hearts, or you lose less ammo with some of it.
Oh, interesting.
And then it gives you like extra shielding hearts, and then shields.
The most recent thing I cooked, I added milk as one of the ingredients, and in the image of all the ingredients being thrown into the pan, it's just 4 cartons of milk bouncing around.
I know. It's funny. Like, when you put in the stuff, like, I remember that the milk was just milk cartons. That's hilarious, because it doesn't do pouring. It's just like stuff bouncing around in the pan. Yeah, so those are the mini games. We've talked a little bit about The Last of Us already. We talked about dual characters. Obviously, like, the main characters are basically Joel and Ellie. John and Sam are very similar in disposition and everything. And then you haven't gotten here yet, but there is potentially an adorable little lesbian love story. It's not the main character's story, but there is a lesbian potential storyline, which similar to The Last of Us.
Yeah.
A little girl that's the key to saving the world, Last of Us. And crafting, I think, compared to, like, it's different, but it's still there. So,
food craft.
And I even think, like, if you compare it to, I don't remember how much cooking you actually did in the video game, but I know in the show there was definitely, like, cooking was a really big part of Joel and Ellie being together. And I think it's the same in this game. So, are there any other parallels you can think of, Paul?
You hit all the biggest ones. It's obviously a post-apocalypse world with an authoritarian government to start with. Yeah, the mayor is totally different from the Fedra, because we didn't really see much of Fedra, but he is such a horrible douchebag, and I'm glad that he got hit by a train.
That is funny. I never thought to compare the mayor to the authoritarian government, but yes, that makes total sense. I guess you could think of the miasma as the mycelium.
Yeah.
So, like, the miasma kind of overtakes the towns, and you don't really know what happens. I think the people do kind of become zombies later. I don't know if you've gotten to the spot. I'm going to say that a lot if you've gotten to the spot, Paul, but there is a zombie town where they, like, there's, like, these zombies that were once human, and then when you go to attack them actually, this is very interesting. I didn't think about it until you queued this up. That they are initially weak, but if you don't kill them, their heads open up into this like light, almost like flower looking thing.
Oh, yes, I have fought those.
Yeah, and then they like chase you down, but the opening of the head kind of feels a lot like the mushroom faces of the like later zombies, the older zombies in the Last of Us world.
Yeah, good point.
So yeah, I really enjoy Eastward, and if you want a video game that's maybe cute but also has many of the themes of The Last of Us and has some deep-seated dark underbelly, then go ahead and play this game. Paul, do you have any final thoughts on the video game before people play it?
I wish I had something obvious, but I've pretty much said everything I wanted to when I talked about boobs.
Who was your favorite weird character in the game?
Oh, definitely the liar poet that follows us around.
Yeah.
He's always changing the story to be like, I was the heroic one, and you know he's not.
All right. Well, thank you for joining us.
Wait, but you didn't say your favorite.
Oh, my favorite character. I really like that little robot boy. He's super cute. And a couple of the scenes where he's kind of heroic is giving me clues into like what might happen at the end of the game. And so like
fun.
I'm excited because he's kind of the toady for this guy who I don't think has not very good motives. And I feel like Sam's going to go kind of on a journey like Ellie, where she suddenly realizes who she is and that maybe people have been lying to her, and kind of go into the crazy rage maybe, and could potentially become evil, as Ellie might potentially kind of become evil. And then I think our little robot boy might bring her back from the brink. That or John, I guess, but maybe. All right. Well, thank you everyone for listening. Talk to you later. Bye.
Bye.